One of our big partners in Virginia that has helped us move agriculture and rural lands forward is Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. And Leanne DuBois is a wonderful partner. So Leanne, come and talk about the marketing side and what's going on in Virginia.
Okay, hello everybody. I hope I won't freeze. Y'all
No, don't freeze.
You don't get a freeze fame. And I got a new agritourism opportunity watching kudzu.
Oh, that is
That would probably work.
Sell tickets.
Yeah, so anyway, thank you. This is a great crowd. It's so nice. Oh, really? Okay, I'm usually kind of loud. Okay. Okay, can you all hear me? But this is a great count. I'm a local girl here, so I'm really happy to be right down the road, and you didn't have to Skype me in. It looked like it was a space station, too, you'll have to tell them. But I've just really had the wonderful opportunity. I was the extension agent here for a number of years and really was very passionate about this community, as many of you all are also. And I moved here about 12 years ago, and what drove me here was the beauty of the land. You know, there was a lot of open space and farmland, and it was a nice balance with, some really great things happening. And I've liked seeing some of the growth, and I've certainly liked the restaurants and more activities and things like that. But, there really needs to be a pragmatic balance, and I think we all can agree to that. And I think what I'm going to go over is just that I've just have been really impressed with working with the Department of Agriculture and all the opportunities there are, and what a huge industry it was. I had no idea what a large industry it is. So today I'm going to kind of dazzle you with the industry. And that's what we're here about. I think you see this land that represents a lot of beautiful open space, but you don't really recognize the economic value. So what we're trying to do is really show you the opportunities here to protect our land, but also, be part of our economy here and grow our economy as well, just like any industry that we're trying to bring in. It's a new day here with economic development. It's not like we're landing these huge, companies that are coming in and hiring 300 to 500 people. We're really doing economic gardening, and we're looking in our own backyards, and we're growing entrepreneurs, and it's really been a shift. And part of that is recognizing agriculture. So this is the mission statement of the Department of Agriculture, which is to promote the economic growth and also consumer protection and encourage environmental stewardship. And I'll go over, Bobby did talk to this, and Extension's such a great partner with us, but it is the largest industry in the state with $55 billion annually. Including forestry. It's a $79 billion industry, and every job in agriculture and forestry supports 1.5 jobs elsewhere in the economy. So it is a large industry in the state, and it was recognized in 2007, and it's been a really wonderful time to be in agriculture in the state because the governor really has recognized that, and as Leanne talked to you, he put forth money for agriculture and forest development, and James City County was very fortunate to get one of the grants. But he's recognized agriculture as economic development, and has invited agriculture to be at the table with other economic development players. So really recognizing the potential. And he also loves Virginia wine. I don't know if y'all read the paper. He's always going to London, and our exports are very much up. Again, this is just some more ag facts about just the economy, production agriculture, employs 60,000 farmers and workers. There's the value-added industries, so you have the farmland, but then you have the people that do the, make the tractors and the seeds and all the other inputs. So again, it just recognizing the fact that it is a large industry. And when I ever have friends or family come to visit me and we go into DC and they always want to see the monument, I'm always like, well, we got to see the USDA. I don't know if you all ever go there, but the USDA is huge, and it's the Department of Agriculture. So if you ever go there, and they've really done a nice job like putting farmers markets in DC and putting community gardens and working with DC Central Kitchen. So just, you'll probably drive by it, but point it out next time. And these are I work in the division of marketing. I work with the Promotions and Marketing Department in the Virginia Grown program. But these are all the others. We do have an international marketing division, and just last week, if you saw in the paper, it was announced that we just opened an office for Europe in London. We do have an office in China. We go to Cuba, do national trade shows in Cuba. We're looking at opening an office in India. So we do have a huge international marketing division. And as Bobby pointed out, this year it's up, I think, like over about 14% from even last year. The domestic sales and market development works with kind of the large grocery store chains, and I can tell you, like, all from Walmart to Giant or Farm Fresh, they all want local products. So we have representatives around the state that work to try to make those connections. We have a livestock marketing division also that promotes marketing of our livestock industry. Commodity services, they do the gradings for fruits and vegetables and grains and poultry. And the promotion and marketing, that's our signature marketing programs, which is Virginia Grown and Virginia Finest, that I'll talk a little more about later. And then Ag and Forest Development, they're the agribusiness section, and they've been working primarily with, they're doing a lot of the cideries in the state are really popping up. So they work with people that want to go into any kinds of business. They give resources for wineries to poultry plants and that type of thing. This is our agricultural marketing. We have 6 different regions in the state, and each of these regions represents industries, primarily like down in Region 4. That's a lot of the Christmas tree growers there to the shore where seafood is. And we have a representative that works with the Department of Agriculture in each of these areas. The Virginia wine industry is really exploding. It used to be under the Department of Agriculture, and it's separated out into, they have a wine marketing board. It's just an enormous industry that you read about all the time, and we've really become a contender in the nation with wine, and also wine-related tourism is huge. So that we're seeing a real increase in that, 62% since from 2005 to 2010. And the expenditures in wine tourism are up. And I know Martha and I, we teach agritourism, or we do agritourism workshops, and our agriculture weddings and winery weddings are really, really big. People really want to kind of get back to the farm. So that's a whole nother growth industry for the wineries in Virginia. The Virginia seafood industry, I was really surprised when I first started working with agriculture and local foods. The seafood industry was sort of marginalized a little bit, and so there was a real push to try to get seafood to be more direct marketed, because they were doing wholesale markets, and there was such an explosion in trying to do direct to consumer. So we worked with a group of people. We got a water harvest group together, and we started to promote more seafood. We worked with watermen to try to teach them what they needed to do, working with Cooperative Extension to be able to sell at local farmers markets. But it's just a huge industry, and the oyster industry is coming back. I know many of you all, with our Chesapeake Bay, we had dead zones in the bay, and it was very problematic with our oyster industry, and we've worked really hard to get oyster aquaculture back, working with the Virginia Tech Research, and we have a seafood division, a seafood marketing division, and now we're doing things like oyster tastings. Different rivers and different streams have different tastes, so we're starting to go out, and I think they've had them at Barrett's here too, the oyster tasting. They have different salinities, so really trying to bring that industry back from marketing. But surprisingly, it's one of the oldest industries in the state, and it's the third largest. We're the third largest producers of seafood. We have a marketing division that goes all over the world to promote Virginia seafood. And also, we always go to the Boston seafood shows. So, and we did have the world champion oyster shucker that lived in Virginia for I think she's been unseated, but she would go on a lot of the shows. Our Woods Products division, God, I didn't know I had that much flair. I didn't know there's Look at those little wingy things. I don't know how I did that. The wood products industry is another real growth industry in the state. This past year, we worked with the Department of Forestry because they wanted a Virginia-grown symbol to be able to recognize Virginia lumber. But our wood products, we do a lot of export of wood products, and primarily there's a lot going on in like Costa Rica, for instance, because they deforested it for economic development. They used to import a lot of their, they used to export a lot of their sugar cane. They deforested a lot of their land because they were growing coffee and sugar cane, and now there's a big tourism, programs going there. People want to go there for tourism, and so now they need wood to build hotels and things, so that's become a big market. And also our Virginia, many of you all have heard of our Virginia Finest program. That's kind of, that's our processed foods. Those are like Route 11 chips, and you see that check mark, and that means that they have certain standards in the industry to be able to be on our Virginia Finest marketing program. There is no cost to be in it, so if any of you all have any kind of products, salsas, or any kind of processed food, I'd encourage you to get into it. We do take our Virginia Finest products to national audiences. We go to the fancy food shows. We go to shows all over the country and have a Virginia Finest pavilion that we bring different companies to a national audience. We have a food and beverage directory that's listed on our website that you can look up products that you may want to buy or have for sale in your stores. Every 2 years we have a food and beverage expo that we invite buyers to, so people that have, these are really small-based businesses. Many times they start them at farmers markets, and then they become Virginia Finest, and then they go to these fancy food shows, and all of a sudden they're, Whole Foods, they're in all Whole Foods stores. So these are the types of things that we do with our processed food. The Virginia Grown program, which is the rock star of Virginia agriculture. That's my program. I work with the Virginia Grown program. And like Bobby was saying, I work a lot with the direct marketers, so it's just exploded. And I'm just so thrilled that people want to know where farms are. They want to go to farmers markets. So a few years ago, we launched this virginiagrown.com, and it's a farm locator. You can put your zip code in there. You can see how many farms are in James City County. We need to get more on our website, but you can go in and put your website, or if you're looking for turkeys for Thanksgiving, you could put that in there and find a farm or a farmer's market. We do have resources here to add. If you do have a farm, you can go here and you can add your listing, or you can get free Virginia Grown marketing materials. And these are our marketing, these are all of our marketing resources. We have a new seafood logo. This is one that came out a few years ago, so if you do have seafood, we do have seafood logo. There is a big aquaculture industry. A number of years back with the tobacco settlement, many of the tobacco farmers were given funds to turn some of their irrigation ponds into aquaculture. So they're growing trout and catfish, so we're really supportive of that industry. We have the horticulture logo and also the new forest. And then just the local food movement, like they were talking about the food systems. I mean, just working here locally, like the College of William and Mary, the students have really pushed to try to get local food on their menus, and they've done a wonderful job of trying to go out far and wide. And they do go far and wide because there's not as many farms here. Am I freezing? Uh-oh. So, oh, okay. Oh, Bobby's back. He's butting in. He's stealing my show. But anyway, this last time that agricultural marketing started taking statistics, they really started, this was the first time they focused on local food sales, and they've just seen that it's exploded. Many farms reporting that 61% are into direct markets. There's so much more opportunity now than there was, and direct sales from farms grew 215% from 1992 to 2008. And also the economic impact is fruit and vegetable farms. Markets employ 13 full-time workers per 1 million in revenue, equaling 61,000 jobs. And then this is just the growth of farmers markets. I work with a lot of farmers markets in the state too, and it's just exploded. Virginia was one of the top 10 states that has the number of year-round markets. This people's buying patterns are changing too. People want to go out, they want to shop at the market, they want a sense of community, and there's so many factors. As a matter of fact, this last 2 years, University of Virginia started kind of a food system course on farmers markets research, because they're starting to recognize not only the economic impact but the social impacts. And students are flocking to it, and students want to become farmers, and they want to go out and work at farmers markets. So, another program that we've seen a big increase in, because of the healthcare, that healthcare overhaul, there's a lot more emphasis on preventative care. And so we're always, we're starting to align ourselves much more with health and wellness. This is a big push that we're Centers from Disease Control to Virginia Department of Health. They're calling us to kind of get some input. But one of the greatest things that we've been trying to push is the EBT SNAP. SNAP was formerly food stamps, and the USDA has given most all states enough money to give wireless terminals to farmers markets to be able to accept the SNAP cards. And Williamsburg Farmers Market just launched theirs this year. And it's really this community effort that needs to go on to try to help people to shop, make better decisions on nutrition, to come out to the markets. So this is something that, we're hoping to really get more support with on a community base. Farm to School program, I've been working with this the past few years, it's great. There are a lot of challenges still with it, but farmers and we're putting together, the opportunity to have more fresh product on a menu. And when I first came to Department of Agriculture, I got so many calls from mothers that would go to school with their kids and see what they were having for lunch and just be like appalled at it. And there's a lot of school nutrition directors they're the champions, and I think Farm to School has really highlighted school food, and they're doing the best they can. There's been a lot of changes, but the Virginia Farm to School program is really working hard to try to make some changes. Agritourism is another big part of our, how am I doing on time? Oh, good. Okay. Agritourism is another big area that we've seen a big change in. Martha and I, we've been going to workshops throughout the state for the last few years, and it used to be a handful of farmers that might be interested, but now it's tourism officials, economic development, boards of supervisors, and it's wonderful because we've come into areas, and then when we leave, people will form kind of agritourism or agriculture committees, because they realize, like, one person, they could have weddings at their farm, they have a barn, but then they want to align themselves with a flower grower or a person who has horse and buggies. And so it's this really all these ancillary business development around these agritourism opportunities. Another industry that I work with, that we work with at Department of Agriculture, is the Christmas tree industry. That's the only guide that we do print now. And we've really changed the marketing angle, and the industry it was kind of flat, because many people, I would even take a poll in the elevators at Department of Agriculture and go, who has a real Christmas tree? And nobody had real Christmas trees, it seemed like, because most of us, it's so easy to have artificial ones. But they've turned the industry around, and it's really marketed as a renewable industry, and that it supports a farm family, and plus the whole be able to go out to the farm to pick out your own tree. So we do that, and they're crazy people. Right now I'm putting together the guide for this year, and they they only have a short window for their industry, so they're like, when are we getting the guide out? Because this is really a push for them, and they're but many of them now are doing pumpkin patches and all kinds of twilight tours and all kinds of things for agritourism. Some other things that we provide is we have a farm link database, as Bobby was talking about. Farmers are 58 years old now as an average, so we are trying to marry up kind of farms with people that are transitioning out and want to get into it. And so this is a database available. And also we work with the department, or with Cooperative Extension. There's been a wonderful beginning farmer and rancher program where they have different areas around the state that will go out and teach skills like business management and these great skills to really get off on a good start for farming. Where before, a lot of times people just had backyard hobbies that would kind of get out of control, and they'd start farming and people would buy and they didn't know how to kind of expand their businesses. So now this really gives them the tools. It's a great program. And that's all. I did it.
Wow, great
Did
job.
I?
An apology. Yes.
Well,
We have
thank
a
you.
person, an in-person person.
Yeah, real person. I didn't
Thank-
freeze. Okay.
Thank you, Leanne. Do you see the broad scope of rural lands in Virginia and what all is involved? It is an array of opportunities. One of the things that we know is that if you want to keep land as open land in rural communities, it must be profitable. And so people look for new opportunities, for new revenue streams to build into their agricultural plans. One of the other options that some people want to do is to develop that land into different entities. And one of the things that we are very happy to have Grady O'Rear with us tonight, who is with the Green Advantage Incorporated, to talk about the residential development options. Grady, would you come?
Thank you. It's good to hear the rain here. I am not from your county. I would like to be, and in fact, I have many fond memories. I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, of field trips that we would have to Williamsburg, and so I know you're a real magnet and real exemplary community in so many ways. And I feel very privileged to be with you tonight. I want to talk briefly about basically a case history of a community that I had the opportunity to develop, EcoVillage in Loudoun County, Virginia. And just give you a general overview of that community, what we were trying to accomplish in the development process, some of our sales activity, as well as lessons that we learned from this. And I'm wearing long sleeves so you don't see my scars, because there are a lot of things we would have done differently, and it may be helpful to you as you think about development here in your county. First, where we are. This is Loudoun County, Virginia, right on the edge. The EcoVillage site is right near the border between Maryland and Virginia. The Potomac River there, as you see, is the border. And we're very close to Point of Rocks there, which is a major train station. So you can go down, you can see, Washington. I was going to point here. Here's Washington. We're 40 miles northwest of there, and you can hop on a train here and be down to Union Station in 65 minutes. Or you can take a train here and go to Rockville, and then you take that trip in 35 minutes, and then you can pick up the metro. Go. So even though we're out in the sticks some, we do have that commuter linkage, which is good. The basic principles that we were trying to accomplish with the community was that we wanted to find land that was already zoned for development. We knew it would be developed, but we wanted to also see how we might preserve more of it. So we examined ways that we might with properties, and we went through about 50 different properties before selecting this one. Find one that was affordable, first of all. There were several families. My wife and I were one of them that purchased this site originally, and back in the mid-90s. And we wanted to see if there was a clustering potential to preserve more of the land. And there was in the county. We like that. We like the commuter train. We like the fact that it was near a little town, very little town, Taylorstown, which is a historic town there. And that we could create more common area by clustering the homes. And we could even have easements. So the northern part here of this acreage, we developed into 28 lots, and we sold lots, okay, for that. And 85% of that acreage was put into permanent open space, okay? But they were all single-family lots, small lots, but they had very nice views. We had these little polygon shapes, the solar access, so that people can have better passive solar gain for their homes to help with the energy efficiency. And then this second area, we put a conservation easement over. Originally, we were thinking we'd go with 28 lot development in this area, but decided instead, when we learned about some of the incentives to do this financially, as well as the conservation value, we reduced the 28 lot development to a maximum of 5 lots in this second 90 acres. So that's privately owned, but we have some paths that connect through here the two lots, or the subdivision in the lot. The goal that we had, or the set of goals, were primarily in the environmental area, but you may have heard that the term sustainability has a triple bottom line: the environment, the economic, and the social side. And regardless of your perspective on whether you buy into green or not, there is a lot of interest in it. I can tell you that we have had hundreds of visitors. I've actually just had to stop doing it because I want to get along with my wife, and we are, because we were going every weekend. We'd have people, we just have it on our website, and people would want to show up, look around, see what we were doing, understand how it might apply to them. We've actually had visitors now from every continent in the world, and I'm counting Antarctica because there was an Aurora physicist who was studying in Antarctica who came down. Or came up, actually. But the idea is that there is a lot of interest, whether we call it green or we call it high quality or healthy building, high performance, all of those things, whatever we want to talk about it as, there is a lot of public interest in it. So what we did with the clustering helped, as you heard in some of the presentation from Virginia Tech and others, we're enhancing the native plant and wildlife habitat. We even have for example, a restriction on planting invasives. So we're not planting kudzu, okay? But we're learning, what are the invasives. Unfortunately, you can even go to nurseries and buy invasives. You don't realize you're buying them, but you are. So just learning about that's important. It provides a lot of common area for us as a community. We're reducing the land, water, and air pollution in various ways. And we're, as we've heard, very important from Leanne and others, the local economic development. As far as the sales are concerned, I want to put a big asterisk here first, that's most of this sales work was done before the downturn, okay? But we've continued now to have some sales by owners of some lots in the EcoVillage because they just haven't been able to make it go because they can't afford, they're upside down with their current mortgage, they can't afford to build a new home, okay? But we were fortunate to sell, actually, before the downturn, all but 2 of the lots in the northern area here, all but 2 of these hamlet lots. It's called Hamlet in Loudoun County, the rural option we used. And we actually, as I mentioned before, put a conservation easement over this acreage, so you'd only have a maximum of 5-lot subdivision. But we got tax credits for that, putting the easement over it, sold the remainder property, and unfortunately for the person who bought it from us, the very wealthy person up in New York, decided after paying on it for several years, we did owner financing, he backed out. So we have it again. And so we're in the process now of subdividing it, and we have it up for sale. So in general, I would say we did well. Part of it was the economy, of course, was doing much better. But there were some things that I want to get to next that would have helped our sales more, that I want to impart to you. The cluster development was a real plus. Views, people like it, they do community gardening, etc. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but it's something that can work. Conservation, people like it. I mean, it's conservative. You're being conservative. Green development, green building. I was hearing from the National Association of Home Builders that within the next decade, this is somebody speaking, maybe he's here with us again, I don't know, but saying that if you're not a green builder in the next decade, you won't be a builder. That's what's happening. There's that much consumer demand, okay? They've actually, I'm sorry?
Where is this demand?
Where is it?
Yeah.
Well, this is the National Association of Home Builders speaking. They are saying, if you go to their website, you'll see that they have developed a green building standard now, and they're selling it to their members. They have 43,000 organizational members. So I'm just telling you what's happening. That's the trend. It's very strong. Another lesson we learned, and after touring hundreds of people, I heard a lot about what they liked and what they didn't like, okay? They liked the public transportation, being close to that. They didn't have as much commercial accessibility. If you can find ways to make even if it's in a rural area, more commercially diverse or closer to commercial services, that's a plus. If your property's like that, it's easier to sell, okay? Another thing we did not do, we sold lots. My wife had me promise I would not build anything, okay? I built a couple of homes. She said, don't do it, okay? She said, I don't want to live in a community where you're getting callbacks, But what we learned from this was that built homes sell much faster. So if you can work with a tract home developer or somebody to build the homes and work with you as developing it, you're going to sell a lot faster. Plus, the divorce rate will probably be lower because if you're building homes, you have a lot of, and you're doing it as a couple and you're trying to work with a builder, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of stress, and you're bridging the mortgaging and everything. A lot of issues.
Did you allow modular homes?
We did. We haven't had any as of yet. What we've got is different engineered, structurally engineered parts of the home. Like many of the homes use structural panels, structural insulated panels. We do have one straw bale home now, made out of straw bales. Maybe you've seen those. So, different types of building material. It doesn't look like it's built from straw bale as a finished home, but it actually is. So built homes are very important. Performance rather than prescriptive approaches, okay? What I mean by that is if somebody tells you your road width has to be X, okay, and it doesn't matter, how you're addressing traffic or whatever, this is what it has to be. It has to be so many feet wide. That's prescriptive. Performance is more like, okay, how much, if on the road width example, how much traffic is really going to go over that road? How are we going to deal with it? And if you can show us, meaning show the government, how you're addressing this a little bit differently. For example, okay, it's supposed to be a fire road. Maybe you put pavers under the road and it's just grass. It looks like grass. It doesn't even look like a road because it's hardly ever used. It's just used for a fire truck very occasionally. So it looks like green space, and it is green space, but it still can support a fire vehicle. So if you can focus more on performance measures rather than prescriptive measures when you're trying to devise your overall plan, I think you'll get a lot more creativity. You won't have people boxed in as they try and come up with ideas and solutions. And then economic development options, as I mentioned before, which is great what you guys are talking about here. All kinds of economic ideas in rural areas. And at the same time, if you're going to be developing housing, more housing and in the rural areas, you got to look at that economic side of it. What's going to be really attractive to those people? Why are they going to want to live out in the sticks? What's going to, maybe they can telecommute, which is great, but just really emphasize that. And then finally, I just took these pictures off our sleeping porch this morning, and this is another reason why clustering is really neat, because we're able to have views like this. A sleeping porch, my wife and I have on the east side of our house, on the second story, a sleeping porch. And I can tell you it's a real hit by the people who walk around and or have been touring. They really love the sleeping porch idea. And the reason they love it is because what you can look out on, okay? By clustering homes, you can look out on this kind of scenery. And so just bear that in mind as you're thinking about this, the trade-offs of having, okay, everybody has their own kind of grid matrix pattern, and we divide the land up that way. That's one way, sure, and many of you may elect to do that. But clustering has a number of attributes too. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Grady. Thank you, Grady. I think, again, we're seeing opportunities. There are options. There are ways. Whether we, in production agriculture, choose different products, forestry, whatever it is, it's also in development. We are different options. One of the factors that we had, I worked with a county a few years ago, and I had to start by explaining that economic development is agricultural development. They thought we're just farming. We reminded them that they are producers. They are making money, that this is not missionary work. This is about creating a business. And it affects their county and their bottom line, their tax base. And so to create a very positive county environment, they needed to remember that and to make that part of the business planning model that they used. So Rachel, Chieppa. See, I practiced that all afternoon. Rachel Chieppa, who is a good friend, and she lets me call her all kinds of things, is here with us from Isle of Wight. We're so good to have you, Rachel. Come and talk to us about economic development.
Sure. Thanks, Martha. Can everyone hear me from here? Okay. I don't have a fancy PowerPoint presentation. I just figured I would talk to you. How many of you here are farmers? One? A couple? Okay, great. Great. How many of you eat? Okay, then you should care about what we're talking about today. And I want you to think about that as you go back home tonight and you try to decide what rural means to you. And rural can mean many different things to many different people, because I'm from Isle of Wight County, right across the river, and I know you're thinking to yourself, how is that anything like us? Well, you might be surprised, because a lot of the things that we're doing in Isle of Wight can probably come over here in either one form or another and be replicated, as well as across Virginia. You're going to see that just because a community doesn't look like you doesn't mean that you can't have those same characteristics. And if you like something that another community is doing, then by all means, write it down, store it away, and these folks are going to listen, because they have been so interested in this process, and they have contacted me. There's been several meetings. They care what you think. Believe it or not, we in government, we are here to help you, and we do want to give you the community that you want. And so take the opportunity when they're asking for your input to give it to them. Because I know that working for Isle of Wight County for 9 years, I ask people that I work with what we can do to help you. My job, when I came on board in 2004, my sole purpose of what the county wanted was to create a farmland preservation program. I had several other duties, but the main goal was to create a PDR program. And you heard about a PDR program here tonight briefly. Well, it's a voluntary program. Landowners apply to enter into the program. Conservation easement is placed on the property, and in exchange, they're paid for their development potential. Well, I will tell you one thing. When I was working to create that program, I called Mr. Ed Overton over here, who's in the back of the room, and I used him as a resource, and I used Virginia Beach as a resource, and I used Fauquier County as a resource. They came over and they helped me to create a great program. Now, granted, those programs are very expensive to run and maintain. We've preserved over 950 acres, and we've spent over $4 million. But we've got a long ways to go, because that's only a small part of our county. So when you think about economic development, do think about things such as farmland preservation and how you can preserve the little bit of land that you do have. And I know I heard someone here tonight say that they had 10 acres. And they just didn't know if they could save that 10 acres. And I asked that person, I said, well, what do you want to do with your 10 acres? Do you want to farm it or do you not? You have to decide what you can do with your land and what you can't. And that's why the communication with the government is very important. Yes, I know taxes are high. Yes, I know it costs a lot to farm. But you got to be innovative and you've got to be creative. And that's one thing that I want you to also think about is farming today is innovative and creative. What does agriculture look like to you? Can you close your eyes and think about it for a minute, what you think of when you see agriculture? I grew up and it was a large-scale peanut farms, row crop farming, and I work with a lot of those farmers. Yes, I do. But you know what? I also can fill a room with small niche farmers that are looking to do anything from pick your own operations, small scale blueberries, raspberries, agritourism, you name it, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be large. It can be what your picture is. And so I want you to think about that, because there's a place for every type of agriculture. And what I'm seeing, especially, and this is my opinion, in Isle of Wight County and on the East Coast, is you're going to see a lot of the smaller scale agriculture happening. People want to buy local. People want to come and they want to know their farmer. That's what they want. They want to build that relationship. So I think there's a value in creating and facilitating the growth of those farmers and farm businesses close in to your development. We talk about food sheds, and I know the planners here know about food sheds, but it's really important to build those food sheds, which are kind of an outer ring of your development, where they actually provide the food for those folks inside that ring. So be creative. When I say there's a place for everything, I am a rural economic development person in an economic development department. I am preserving agriculture and preserving farmland while my boss is developing land for industrial and commercial use. And at first, I didn't think it was going to work. I thought we would be butting heads all the time. But it doesn't happen that way. We have a nice balance. And when I talk about a balance, I mean, even to my farmers in my county, they understand. We have development service districts just like you have primary service areas, which is where the development is going to occur. We make it very difficult and almost costly to develop large scale outside of our development service districts. So we encourage people to go into those DSDs, as we call it. We have industrial parks, and we want our industry to go there. This doesn't mean that we don't disagree on occasion. There's been times where it's been talk of maybe we should take the farmland preservation money and buy land around the industrial park to create a buffer. Well, we kind of have to talk about those things. It doesn't always work out the way we think it should. But part of my job is also to recruit agribusiness. And so agribusiness can be lots of different things. And agribusiness is small generally. We're talking 5 jobs, 10 jobs. And recently we got 71 jobs with the recent Franklin Lumber purchase of the International Paper Sawmill. We worked on that. We got a state, Virginia Department of Agriculture, Ag Development Fund matching grant for that. So we're super excited about that sawmill coming back up. That's a large example of what we work on and what we recruit. But we also recruited Montague Farms, which is a food-grade soybean producer that ships the natto soybean that they work with Virginia Tech, and they ship it to Japan. And they basically ferment it and they eat it over there. And that's happening right there in Windsor, Virginia with 5 employees. And they are rolling the trucks out, let me tell you. So we can talk about small and we can talk about large, but economic development is all different sizes. I also work a lot with farmers markets, agritourism ventures. We're seeing a lot of interest with wine. We have a vineyard, a couple of vineyards. We don't really have a winery, but we want a winery. We have some serious interest in the craft brew industry. Our town of Smithfield would love to get a brewery, a place to congregate. That is agriculture. I know you don't think of it as agriculture traditionally because it's not the large scale, but it is agriculture, and those are projects that we do work on. I don't know if you're familiar, but Albemarle County recently developed kind of an artisan trail, and Leanne probably knows a little bit about it. But some of those things we consider economic development most definitely. We have a brochure in the back that's similar to that kind of a trail, but it's not an official trail, and it's a farm tour guide. We developed that online and in print, and any farmer that directly sells to the public and wants to be in that brochure, we print it out. Tourism distributes it. We distribute it. We try to get it out as many places as we can. What we do is we try to promote our farmers in any way, shape, or form that they would like us to. I've done lots of things over my 9 years, and I've seen a lot of change. I've had 3 different supervisors, I've had several different board members, and I've seen agriculture change. Farmers do not need people and assistance like they used to. They are using extension in the Department of Agriculture a lot differently than they did years ago. With the smartphones and the computers today, farmers are very technologically savvy, so they don't call me for the same issues in extension that they used to call for. Now it's more of, I need you to help me put on a workshop for this, or technology for this, or they have different needs. And I do lots of things, even from the point I get a call of, there's a tree branch that's too low and I can't get my tractor through. So in a small community, we kind of are jack of all trades and master of none. But what I want to do is encourage you to look as a non-farming public at the ways that you appreciate agriculture and you value the rural community. My job in Isle of Wight is to be the voice for farmers. With government, I can take positions on issues, whereas Extension has to be unbiased. I am their advocate, whether it's biosolids, whether it's a new zoning ordinance for a sign. We had just recently changed our sign ordinance to allow on-farm signs and off-farm signs to get people to the farms. Because when you are promoting agriculture, you need to look at all ways to promote agriculture. And that means you got to get people to the farm. And the rules that might apply in an urban area might not apply in a rural area. So you have to evaluate everything based on what the circumstance and situation is. So I feel like a lot of my job is to promote and protect the quality of life that we have in Isle of Wight County. And think about what quality of life you appreciate here and write those things down. And I would encourage you to think about how you want to see your future. If you like seeing open space, then promoting the PDR program here with Ed and what he does is a great thing. Let's continue that. If you want to see community gardens, there are wonderful places here where you can implement community gardens. We've talked a lot about that in the past here. So there's ways to grow and build and promote people that want to be farmers and help them to do that, because farmers today really are the young farmers that are coming up. And if they move to your community because they come here for jobs or something else, and they might work a full-time job, but they want to grow and sell at your farmer's market, you want to provide them that opportunity, and you want to help to guide them and get them connected with a farmer maybe that has that 10 acres that they could rent from them. So provide opportunities and look towards the future, and think about the next generation that's coming. I know they say the average age is 58. That's really scary to me, and it should scare all of you, because the future of agriculture really needs to rest in the young people, and we need to make it an affordable, profitable venture for them. And that means we need to buy local, and we need to support and facilitate that. So I've talked a lot about my views, but if you have any questions, I'll be around. And I'm going to wrap it up because we're running short on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. You've heard it said, rural lands, lots of opportunities, lots of different ideas, but it's based on values. It's based on the values of the community, and the community are the people that live in that region. So what are your values? What do you want? What do you see as possible? These are part of the discussions we want to continue. So I've got a couple things I need to do for next step. The first one, I want to make sure if you have this evaluation form, please share with us your thoughts just briefly, and just leave it on the registration table as you leave today. We also want to you to know that there is a photo competition. Well, not really a competition. It's more of a scrapbook idea, isn't it? We're collecting photographs about what rural means to you. So take a shot, take a photograph. You saw Jennifer's tree. That was one of her favorite trees. The picture tells the story. So take a shot of what you consider to be rural and share those. And we're going to bring those to our next set of conversations. Be thinking about what rural is about, and be ready to come and discuss that. Our discussions are going to be the same kinds of questions being asked. One discussion will be held in the evening at 6:30 on July 17th. The second conversation will be held the next morning beginning at 8 o'clock on July the 18th. So we will get that information to you. I think everybody has registered, filled out a card, which will allow us to contact you, as well as this will be identified in so many different ways. I'm so glad you were able to come tonight. Our speakers that are in the room are going to be here for a little bit, so if you want to talk to them, you share your ideas, be sure and share the evaluation form. Doris Heath is with us tonight from the Extension office in the back. She was introduced earlier. The person that was not introduced, that's also my colleague from Extension, is Kelly Liddington. He is an A&R agent. He is here as well. Many of you know him because because you've worked with him on agricultural issues. All of us will be together again in July for the conversation. I want to especially thank the county for inviting us. I want to thank all of the speakers for what you've done, your comments. Thank you for your patience online. I know that was a struggle. It worked so well during practice, didn't it? Obviously, the storm was moving through, and that caused some issues. You are making an investment. It's an investment in your community, and we thank you. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Yay.